Hello, you lovely people. It has been a hot minute since I have caught up with you all. I am so sorry. Things have been a bit of a whirlwind, to say the least. So, the last time I spoke to you all was our IVF update and our pregnancy announcement. So, things have progressed quite a bit since then. We told you all at our 12-week appointment, or just after our 12-week appointment, that we were pregnant. We wanted to make sure that everything had gone okay with IVF and that baby was viable and, well, not viable, but he was safe as he could be. And we didn't want to really tell too many people before the 12-week appointment. So, after the 12-week appointment, things seemed to just go so quickly. I'm not even joking. I swear I had the quickest pregnancy known to man. I feel like it had absolutely flown by. We found out that we were having a little boy at our 20-week scan, but I said to Rob from day dot that it was a little boy. I don't know why. I just had this feeling that it was a little boy, and yeah, that's sort of where I was going with it all. We were due to have our little boy on the 5th of August, which would have been 9 days ago now. However, I was actually induced. I had known all along I was going to be induced, but I was told I was going to be induced from 39 weeks, which would have been Monday just gone. Yeah, so Monday just gone. Or was it the Monday before? Might have been the Monday before, actually. Yeah, it would have been the Monday before. So Monday the 1st of August, I should have been induced. I was actually induced on, and I'm going to double check just because my brain doesn't work anymore. So we actually started the induction process in the end at 38 weeks, and that was the 27th of July. Now, on the 26th of July, I got taken into a hospital. I had to have tests and everything done because I had had reduced movements. I'd had reduced movements a fair few times during the pregnancy, and because it was coming up later and later, they were getting more and more concerned with preeclampsia, and because he was an IVF baby, they weren't sure if he was further along than what they anticipated, and etc, etc. So on the 26th of July, I had a CTG scan done, which is like monitoring of baby's heartbeat, and you have to then register with a button all of the movements. Everything looked fine. They also did another scan to check that baby's placenta was okay, because they, as I say, were worried about preeclampsia, and they wanted to make sure that there was no deterioration within his placenta that was causing the reduced movements. They then decided that they wanted to do blood tests, and one of them was called a PCR. Now, with COVID, we all know a PCR test that goes up your nose, they give it a wiggle around, and they check if you've got COVID or not. That wasn't what this test was, and it took me a while to realise what they were on about. So the PCR test was to check for preeclampsia, basically. What they say with that is anything 30 or below, you don't have a risk of preeclampsia. Anything 30 and above, you do. Mine happened to come back at 33. Yeah. Had to be me. It's always me. If it's going to be anyone, it's going to be me. And yeah. So, they gave me a massive spiel about making sure that I was hydrated, making sure that if I had a headache, that was persistent and that paracetamol wouldn't get rid of, then I had to go in and be seen in Glangwili Hospital and have more checks and everything done just to make sure that everything was okay. So that evening I came home from the hospital. I said to Rob exactly what was going on, and I said to him, I'm exhausted, I'm not feeling great, I'm just going to go and have a lie down, watch some TV in bed. About an hour later I started with a headache, which of course on cue was great and just what I needed. And I said to Rob, can you grab me some paracetamol? Yeah, he said no problem. Hour and a half after that, headache wasn't shifting. So I rang up Glangwili Triage and the midwife said, in you come, bring a bag just in case. So I was like, oh, okay. So off I goes with my monitoring straps, my green notes and my repacked hospital bag, which for some reason I had a feeling needed to be repacked that morning. Off we goes. Saw the midwife, had monitoring done, another CTG scan, everything was fine. Midwife said you should be home by 9 o'clock. Rob and I were like, happy days, see the consultant and then we'll go home. No, not the situation. 9 o'clock came and went, 10 o'clock came and went, 11 o'clock Rob's getting really hangry. I'm getting hangry because I had gestational diabetes, my blood levels were dropping, I was just getting tired, anxious, annoyed, uncomfortable. So I said to Rob, look, you're going to have to go off to Tesco, get something to eat for the both of us before it shuts at 12 o'clock. So off he goes. Down comes the consultant. At this point, I'm ready to chew somebody's head off because I was under the impression I was going home. And we all know that I have the best temper ever. So controlled. So she comes in and she explains everything to me, and due to the headache that was persistent, due to the fact that I had 33 on the PCR test, and just due to the fact that I was having a lot of reduced movements coming up to the end of the pregnancy, they were not letting me home, and I was not going home until that baby was born. So, as you can tell, I am sat at home, which means my baby must be born. And that is true. He is. He's upstairs currently in his nursery, which I'm going to give you a little tour of. Please bear in mind that we are in another heat wave at the moment, and I now have a 15-day-old, and I'm exhausted with the really nice suitcases that are under my eyes, and I can't even be bothered to put makeup on anymore because what is makeup when you have a newborn? But yeah, so moving to the 27th of July. That morning I saw the consultant that was on, and she actually said to me, look, if we have room for you today, would you like to be induced? And I was like, hey, it's a week early, let's get this baby out of me, I'm done. Stick a fork in me, I am cooked. So all that day I'd rung Rob and I had let him know what the situation was. We have been very, very lucky because visiting hours at the hospital did not change, even with the rising COVID cases. So Rob could come in and see me from 10 AM till 8:30 PM unless I was in active labour, in which case he could be there for the duration, and then including all of the additional visiting hours that they offer, which was absolutely phenomenal. Rob gets to the hospital, I explain everything to him. I said to him about 6:30, look, it doesn't look like anything's going to be happening today, you can go home, it's not a problem. Off he goes. 7:45 comes, midwife comes in, and she advises me that at 8 o'clock I will be going upstairs to the induction ward. So I was like, ooh, okay. I have been very chill, very open-minded about all of these situations. I didn't let things sort of get to me. I didn't want to know information until I needed to know it, including how I was being induced. I chose not to find out until it actually came, because otherwise I freak myself out. I end up Googling stuff, and we all know that Google is the worst thing when you've got an overactive imagination. So I didn't want to do that. So packs all my bits up and off we go upstairs to the induction ward. I met a really nice girl up there called Emma. She was so supportive. She was being induced as well, and to be fair, we still stay in contact now. I also then met another girl called Shauna. She was really nice, and Kirsty. So I was very lucky because these three women, we were able to go through the sort of journeys mostly together, give or take a few hours with everything. Wednesday, well, I say Wednesday, it was early hours of Thursday morning, 1 AM to be exact, and they came along and said, right Jode, let's start you with your induction process. We're going to put the first pessary in. Now there's another word for these, which is teabag. They look like very flat tampons basically, and apparently they go in behind your cervix. Happy days, you all needed to know that information. So the first one went in, it made me feel a bit uncomfortable. I got some cramping and some tightening feelings, but nothing major, no sort of like lasting contractions, or it didn't sort of dilate me at all. So that then had to come out Friday morning at 1 AM as well. So again, at this point I am exhausted. I'd had no sleep, I'd been in for 3 days, I was going a bit balmy, and Rob, bless him, was in and out, and I had the girls keeping me going. Our induction bay was actually called the party wing at one point, because we were constantly laughing, joking, giggling, just having a good time, doing what we could do, and just enjoying the experience together as a group, which was lovely. They decided then at 1 AM on Friday morning they were going to take that tea bag out. That tea bag was removed. Everything sort of stopped, and they decided to give my body a break because they had so much going on that night. They actually had a girl that went into labour, and she laboured so quickly and gave birth that they could not get her to the labour ward. So I'm not going to lie, that freaked me the hell out. I wasn't doing well with that. But again, the girls were there, they were holding my hand, they were absolutely amazing. We put some music on, we just chilled out, we tried to just block it out as much as we could, and yeah, congratulations to that girl, because she was, oh, that was epic, and fair play to her, because I don't think I could have done that on gas and air alone. So come to midday then, 12 PM on Friday, midwife comes and says, right, we're going to pop in another tea bag. So I was like, right, okay, no problem. This tea bag went in, Rob came in to see me. I said to him I was having some tightenings, bit of backache, nothing major. Rob went home about 6:30. I said to him, I don't think anything's really going to happen today. It is what it is. I will see you tomorrow. I did though tell him to turn his phone off of do not disturb, and I told him to make sure that he had it on loud. I don't know why, I just had this feeling. About 8:39, the period cramps, as they were coming a lot more, but they were all coming in my back, which I've never ever had like cramps or anything like that in my back before. So they think that the contractions started all in my back basically. 10:30 came, and it was getting bad, and I belled for the midwife to come along, and she actually gave me some paracetamol, and she said, look, we're going to do a check now and have a little look at how far along you are. So at this point it was either 10:30 or 12:30, I don't really remember which. It was a bit of a blurry day, but basically they did the check and I was 3 centimeters dilated, and I was literally at this point having the paracetamol. I wasn't on anything stronger, and I rang Rob and I just said, look, I'm 3 centimeters, there's no point you coming over yet, they won't do anything until I hit 4. They've removed the tea bag and it could be hours before I get to 4 centimeters dilated, because it could slow the contractions down now that the tea bag had been removed. So he was like, yeah, I'm going to try and get some sleep, no problem. Bounce on to, I think it was 2:30 in the morning, 1:30, 2:30, something like that. I'm in agony, bouncing on a ball, pacing. I've had codeine, I've got a TENS machine stuck on my back, and dialed it up to like 7 at this point. I was not doing well. I was not having fun. I was not a happy bunny in the slightest. Like, at all. Nothing. There was nothing about me that was happy. At all. Belled for the midwife. Said, could I have some more codeine? Could I have more of something? Anything. I didn't care what. And would she be able to do another check because I was uncomfortable. She said at the time, we don't really like doing more than one check if we can help it. I don't think you're going to be at 4 centimetres. You know, just give it a bit more time. And I was a bit insistent, and because I insisted, they had to do the check. Now, the reason why she declined at first was because the more they fiddle with you down there, the more risk there is of infection or sepsis. So obviously I knew those risks. I understood why they were saying no, and normally I would have probably agreed, because I am one of these that does just agree with what doctors and things tell me. You know, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what is best. This particular time in my life, I was very insistent that they do another check. So off she goes, she has a look, and I was 5 centimetres dilated on paracetamol with a couple of codeine thrown in for good measure, not having a party. When she said I was 5 centimetres, I'm not joking, I cried happy tears because I was so overwhelmed by it all. She advised that we go to labour ward. She rang Rob for me off of my phone because I just couldn't speak to him. I couldn't get the words out. And bless him, he dragged himself out of bed and he came over to the hospital to see me. Carrying on, because I don't want to go through all the gory details of my labour, there was some exorcism moments. There was some cut the baby out of me moments, because that's what I screamed. And there was also the moment where it was determined I had to have what's the word? Non-surgical intervention. Baby had decided that he wanted to come out, but he was so eager he tilted his head the wrong way, which meant that he did get stuck. So we did have suction, which resulted in me having to have an epidural, which was what I was most afraid of. Not because of losing the sensation in my legs or anything like that, not because of what the epidural does, but because it goes into your spine. What I will say is, out of everything, the epidural was the one thing that I was not scared of when it came down to it. I was so out of it from the gas and air that I had and the remifentanil that I was having during the contractions that the epidural was nothing. They put the local anaesthetic in, they did all of the checks, they were absolutely amazing. And they explained absolutely everything to both Rob and I as the process went along, and they were phenomenal. I cannot say thank you enough to all of the staff, especially my midwife Charlotte that came in the second half of my labour, because they were all absolutely phenomenal. They really were. So I had the epidural, and within, I think it was 6 pushes and the suction, my little boy arrived. Rob went and did all of the photos, and I'm going to insert some of them now. And he turned to me and he said, we're not changing his name, he is going to be Abel James. And that was the most relief I'd ever heard, knowing that my baby was okay, number one. Number two, hearing him cry. I did get to briefly have him on my chest before he got taken to be cleaned up and checked, but because of the epidural and everything else that they needed to do for myself, I only got him for a brief couple of seconds on my chest, but it was okay because Rob was with him the whole time, which is what I wanted. I didn't want our son to be away from either of us if it could be helped. So Rob was overwhelmed, I was obviously overwhelmed and blubbering like a little girl, which I think I was very much entitled to. And yes, like I say, we decided that his name was going to be Abel James. He is Abel James Graham Clark. He is the best part of me. I think I'm so proud of him. I'm truly so proud of him. So why don't we go upstairs and I will show you his nursery, and I will also get you to meet the little monster himself. That is his nursery, as I say, and as I showed you, that is the little gremlin. I don't want to wake him up because he is super cozy. Rob has been absolutely phenomenal with all of this journey, and I'm so grateful for him in every single way. So yeah, I do however want to say a massive thank you to all of our family, our friends, Rob, my parents, his parents, everybody that has supported us, all of the IVF teams in Port Talbot and in the Heath in Cardiff, all of the midwives and everyone else that were in Glangwili when I went in. I think I had about 7 midwives throughout the whole journey. I think I had 2 while I laboured. I could be wrong, it could have been more, but I'm not really sure. Rob was sort of more awake for that experience than I was. I was a little bit high from all of the drugs, so I'm not really sure how many midwives I had during the labouring process. But yeah, I just want to say thank you to all of you, because without all of you guys, my little man wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be as sane as I am. So if any of you actually get to see this ever, thank you. We really appreciate it. And on that note, I am going to go and get dinner while he's still asleep, because once he wakes up, it's all about him again. So I think 5 minutes to myself is earned. Have a good one, guys, and we will catch you all in the next one.